discussion will be focused on the Islamization of Knowledge agenda, and whereby the students that joining this, the participant today, inshallah, is the also the students of the course that joining this summer schools program, and hopefully by joining this program, the students and also some participants are having a brief and comprehensive understanding on the issue of the Islamization of Knowledge agenda, and whereby this issue has been very interesting to be discussed, in particular in UMY right now, Prof. We are in Department of Economics right now, are quite progressive, yeah, in discussing and also implementing the idea of IUK. Even here, we have a specific course right now, Prof, in the new curriculum, whereby the call is Islam and Science. So we just have the new course for in our new curriculum that will focus how to integrate the modern and also Islamic knowledge. And also our departments, basically, Prof, is like the UIA. Our department is economics departments, not Islamic economic department, but economic departments, whereby we have lectures that are focusing on the
unmute. You need to unmute, Dimas.
Okay, so some lectures also here focus on the in our
You need to unmute.
Okay, so some lectures are focused on the area of Islamic finance, and some lectures focus on the modern economics. So the challenge of our program right now is how to integrate these two parts into a single contemporary Islamic finance or Islamic economics, but still under process, Prof. Even right now, our university or our program has specific course called Islam and Science. So hopefully by listening to you, so we have more understanding and more deeping and comprehensive knowledge how to make this Islamization of knowledge in our university in particular and also in general will be more smoothly conducted. Okay, Prof. In this forum, I saw here some guests also from all of the programs. I want to welcome here Dr. Suhaimi, also from Dr. Sulastri here joining the programs, and also all the participants. So inshallah will be more participants will join, Prof. Next time goes by, and Prof. Aslam will be giving the time for maybe up to you, Prof. Maybe 30 minutes or 40 minutes, up to you, Prof. And then after that, we will have short discussions in regarding with your topic. Before you start, Prof, I would like to just briefly introduce you, dear participants and ladies and gentlemen. Here we have Professor Aslam Haneef. He is professor in economics from International Islamic University, Malaysia, and also the director of the Southeast Asia for the ITYIELds chapter, yeah, in Malaysia. Prof. Aslam, time is yours, Prof.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Let me just share my screen. Okay. Alright, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. Thank you, Dr. Dimas, for organizing this program. I think I have been in previous program, maybe 2 programs in the earlier years, and it's very difficult to say no when the invitation comes from UMY. Because as mentioned by Dr. Dimas, we have very long and close relationship with your university, particularly because of the founder of this program, almarhum Dr. Mashudi, who was our student of PhD many years ago, and Alhamdulillah, I'm so happy to see the development of the university from the time that when I visited the old campus and came to the new campus to see the buildings just being built, and now Alhamdulillah, University Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta is making the progress that it has done. And the second reason is also because, as mentioned again by Dr. Dimas, I think your program is very much like our program in IIUM in Malaysia. And as you mentioned, unlike many other universities in Indonesia, your program is Bachelor of Economics. But you have the Islamization or integration of knowledge agenda in your program. So in that sense, we share a lot of common approach, and that is why the topic today, the Islamization or integration of knowledge agenda, and I will tell you why IOK can mean Islamization, it can also mean integration. And you will find that both of them are actually complementary to each other. So this agenda is a very relevant agenda. I was looking at the course that you have, and I see that there are many lectures throughout the last 10 days. And if you realize, the lecturers are coming from your Ministry of Finance, from your central bank, Bank Indonesia, and also coming from Badan Wakaf Indonesia, or the Zakat Authority. And if you followed the discussion of all these different lectures, you will find that this is where the IOK agenda becomes so relevant, right? So let me try to explain how this IOK agenda is relevant for what you have been listening to. And I believe this lecture is coming towards the end of the program. So in a way, I hope you are able to try and connect what you have already heard from previous speakers with what I'm going to say now. Maybe just another point. About 3 years ago, I was asked by our colleagues in IIIT to assist with their research and publications division of the IIIT East and Southeast Asia office. And that is why, besides being in the Department of Economics, where Dr. Dimas, was with us a few years ago, I'm also now helping out with research and publication at the IIIT East and Southeast Asia. So thank you again for the invitation, and I hope we'll be able to have more discussion. I will try to keep my presentation to about 40 minutes, and maybe then we can have a good Q&A session. Okay, what we will be covering today, and I'm sure for many of you this is not going to be new. I have been presenting this for quite a number of sessions already. I hope to give an overview of the IOK agenda, and to make it simple, we'll talk about why we have this IOK agenda, what it is, and how we go about it. And I think maybe the how is the challenging part, for all institutions, including University Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta. And then I will try to make the connection, the foundations of contemporary Islamic economics, again an overview, and then try to connect IOK to economics and finance. And this is the part I think I hope you will be able to connect to what you have heard from other speakers in the last week or so. And then one very, very, very important challenge in this entire exercise is what I call the human resource challenge. Whether we are talking about universities, or whether we are talking about Bank Indonesia, whether we are talking about Ministry of Finance, if you want to have Islamic economics and finance, then getting the right human resource is very important. That means we need to create a new kind of graduate, all right? And this new kind of graduate requires lecturers who are also able to deliver the Iok agenda. All right, so this is maybe what we will be focusing on towards the latter part of the presentation. So let me begin. What is this Iok agenda? When we read the writings of various scholars who have written, especially those who have talked about Islamization of knowledge agenda, we find that the Muslim Ummah, and we need to put in context, these writings came about in the last maybe 40 to 50 years. So maybe 1.5 generations. The writings have been coming out that talk about this that we are discussing today, about Islamization of knowledge. They all talk about the fact that the Muslim Ummah is not in a leadership position anymore. For many decades, if not centuries, we have declined. So what is called the malaise of the Ummah, kemunduran umat Islam, in all fields, right? The backward condition of the Muslim Ummah. And proponents of Islamization of knowledge or integration of knowledge, they basically see that the problem is not in politics per se, it is not in banking or finance per se, but it goes to the core of knowledge and education. Even if we change political leaders, even if we change the Minister of Finance or change, whoever we want to change, if the education and knowledge is still the same, we are not going to solve the problem from an Islamic perspective. So Islamization of knowledge is looking at the condition of Muslims today and saying that we have to go back to education, we have to go back to knowledge and make reforms in education and the way we understand knowledge. Why? Because the knowledge that we are teaching, the disciplines that we are teaching in our universities all over the world, whether in Malaysia, whether in Indonesia, whether in Saudi Arabia, whether in Turkey, for many decades, we have been teaching these disciplines in the social sciences and human sciences especially. These disciplines are basically disciplines that we have imported from the West. In particular, as mentioned by Professor Alatas as well as Almarhum Ismail Faruqi, all modern disciplines, they are a product of the last 300 years of Western European worldview, history and experience. Okay, and I'm sure all of you, if you are students of economics or business or accounting or finance, you basically will be using the standard textbooks that are also used in American universities or European universities, etc. It will be the same textbook we use. Okay, very famous in, I think in most universities, Samuelson and Nordhaus, McConnell and Brew, the same textbooks. Now, what we are teaching in those textbooks, they are not value free. They are not ideology free. All these disciplines that we are teaching in our universities to our students, they are taught with the worldview and the perspective of the discourse in Western Europe over the last 300 years. And it presents that Western worldview. I'll just give you one example to make it very simple. In economics, we always say that the goal of the firm is to maximize profit. And when you read economics, you only will be interested to find out where is the marginal revenue equal to marginal cost. That is where you maximize profit. So all the time, when we teach production, we are talking about how to maximize profit. Now, if we ask you, where does this come from? Who says that the maximization of profit is the main goal of the firm, or maybe sometimes the only goal of the firm. Yeah. Milton Friedman, the business of business is business, right? Something that I was exposed to in the 70s, late 70s and 80s. Who says that the goal of the firm is to only maximize profit? Today, I believe in business studies, they are actually saying that there are many goals of the firm, right? But if you look at what we teach in economics, generally it always boils down to what they call the bottom line, profit. And not only profit, but maximizing profit. Where does this come from? It comes from the ideology that is in the economics that we teach. So the economics that we teach is not value free, nor is it ideology free. And it comes from the Western European worldview over the last 300 years. Many aspects of this worldview are not in line with the Islamic worldview. And therefore, whatever we are talking about in the classroom, which by the way is not even something that is practiced in the real world, right? So this is another challenge that we face in education. We teach sometimes theories that are outdated, that actually not relevant anymore to the real practice in the industry. And in the case of developing countries, we are also behind time to what they are teaching maybe in the West today, right? So we have to make reforms. Yeah? We have to make reforms so that when we teach economics, we are not just taking whatever is being taught in Western universities and repeating it to our own students. We need reforms in our education and in the way we teach economics, finance, business studies, etc. Yeah? And we do this, we have to understand and have a correct understanding of what we mean by Islamic knowledge and Islamic education. If you look in all Muslim countries, we have a common feature, and that is what Al-Marhum Ismail Faruqi called the duality of education. On the one hand, you have universities which are called Islamic universities. Or in Indonesia, maybe you have pesantren. Yeah? In Malaysia, we have madrasah. We may have, ma'had. These are the institutions that were originally Islamic education institutions. But when you look at what they teach, it is very narrow. They will talk about, Quran. They will talk about Hadith, maybe Arabic language a little bit. They will talk about fiqh, maybe, and that also maybe in this part of the world, fiqh of the madhab Shafi'i, or the sub-madhab Shafi'i in this area. Very narrow in terms of curriculum. When in actuality, if you are talking about Islamic education, we must be producing the scientists. We must be producing the economists. We must be producing the business leaders and all the leaders of the country. But when you talk about Islamic education, we are producing the Imam and the Bilal and the Guru Agama who will teach you Quran. Now, I'm not saying this is not important. It's important, but that is not Islamic education as a whole. On the other hand, we have your national universities. So UI, University Airlangga, University Pertanian Bogor. These are all national universities in Indonesia. In Malaysia, we have University Malaya, University Kebangsaan, national universities. When you look at what is being taught in these universities, you become doctors, you become engineers, you become lawyer, you become economists, businessmen. But nothing to do with religion, right? So 50 years ago, proponents of Islamization of knowledge said, we need to change the way we teach our younger generation. We have to integrate our Turath al-Islami with modern knowledge. And this is basically what Islamization or integration of knowledge is. Yeah? And we'll come back to this. What is IOK? Now, it is a program or an agenda that will develop contemporary bodies of knowledge. Very important, yeah? Contemporary. We want to develop current, modern Islamic economics or modern economics, modern business, modern finance, which is Islamic in nature. How do we do it? Through a critical interaction or critical dialogue between modern knowledge disciplines and Turath al-Islami. We have to have critical dialogue. All right? Now, very important to keep in mind, when we talk about critical interaction, it is not only on the modern disciplines, on the theories, but it must also go to the foundations of the discipline. This is a very, very important part. I don't think I have enough time to talk about this, but just keep in mind, maybe we can have some discussion in the Q&A. It cannot just be, I take modern banking, I bring fiqh mu'amalat, this becomes Islamic banking. This is not the way to do it. Okay, I take the modern bank, I bring the fuqaha, the Sharia advisor, he brings the fiqh rules and tries to change the banking practice according to the fiqh rules, and this becomes Islamic bank. This is not what Islamization of knowledge is referring to. Okay, and I'm telling this because many people criticize Islamic banking, and because they say that we are Islamized banking, they've also criticized Islamization of knowledge. And actually what is being done is not genuine Islamization of knowledge. So if we understand what Islamization of knowledge is, it must also include critical evaluation of the foundations of modern banking, of modern economics, of modern finance. Okay, this is very, very important. Not only do we need to critically evaluate modern disciplines and the foundations, we need to also critically evaluate our own Turath. In IIUM, we call this relevantization. For example, when we read the books of the scholars, who wrote 600 years, 700 years ago, we don't need to accept everything that they say. Because the views of these scholars, and we have great respect for all of our scholars, may Allah bless them, but what they were writing may be relevant for their time, for their own context. We are talking about 2022. We need to have views and solutions to our problems today. Most of the time, our economics and finance problems, we need to have new solutions. We cannot rely 100% on what is written by our scholars who wrote 600 and 700 and 1000 years ago. So we need to have ijtihad. We need to have new solutions, okay? And these new solutions requires both critical interaction of modern discipline as well as our Torah. Therefore, IOK is a critique of modern disciplines from an Islamic viewpoint. What is IOK? Whether it is Islamization of knowledge, it is talking about Islamizing modern disciplines, critical evaluation of modern disciplines. You don't Islamize fiqh and usul fiqh. You don't Islamize usuluddin. You don't Islamize Quran and Hadith studies, right? So in IIUM, we say we relevantize them. But for economics, business, finance, we Islamize them. Okay, so we'll come back to this a bit later. Now, this is the work plan of Ismail Faruqi al-Marhum. I'm not going to have time to talk about this in detail, but if you just look at the bottom part, there are 12 steps. You find that in his work plan, in the work plan of IIIT. And in simple words, these 12 steps, we can easily present, using this diagram. Okay, so you got these 12 steps. You master modern discipline, you make discipline survey, you critically analyze the modern discipline, all right? At the same time, you master the Turath, you do a critical analysis of Turath, you try to make the connection between the two, all right? And then you look at the problems of the ummah, you look at the problems of humanity, and then you have number 10, very important, creative analysis and synthesis. So these 12 steps, and of course you need to have your textbooks, because you're not going to use McConnell and Brew anymore. Hopefully in the future we have our own textbook to present introduction to economics, but this is Islamic economics, all right? And hopefully then this book is used in all universities in the Muslim world rather than using McConnell and Brew. These 12 steps we can actually simplify into this diagram. What do we want to do? We want to develop contemporary Islamic bodies of knowledge: economics, business, finance. This requires two inputs: Turath al-Islami and modern knowledge. Okay? But as I mentioned just now, modern knowledge we Islamize. Why? Because this modern knowledge developed in the last 300 years in Western Europe. So we need to make reforms, we need to critically evaluate it and the foundations. This process we call Islamization of modern knowledge. In IIUM, what do we do with the Turath al-Islami? We say we have to relevantize it. So now you got two bodies of knowledge: the Turath al-Islami, which is relevantized, the modern knowledge that is Islamized. We need to bring these two together to develop Islamic economics. Now that requires the integration of the two. So this is how I try to explain IOK. On the one hand is Islamization of modern knowledge, the one in blue. And then when you integrate with the Turath al-Islami, this is integration of knowledge, also IOK. Now, I'm saying this because in IIIT, in the International Institute of Islamic Thought, they have moved from Islamization of knowledge. They now use the term integration of knowledge. But actually, when you look at what is required, it involves Islamization, and that Islamization is one half of the story, right? And then together with this relevantization, we integrate both. It is only by this that we are able to have Islamic economics or Islamic finance or Islamic banking. And when we talk about Islamization of this modern knowledge, it is not only through the fiqh. You know, I emphasize this a lot in all my presentations, because unfortunately, and I say unfortunately, in most Muslim countries, whenever we talk about Islam, whenever we talk about Islamic economics and banking, people talk about fiqh. And what is fiqh? The legal aspects of Islam. We are not only bound by legal, we don't live by law, you know. Many of our decisions we make have nothing to do with law. In fact, I would argue Islamic economics already should be within the realm of halal. That means the fiqh part already settled. But now in economics and banking, we want to choose which is better, which is the best. This is what Islamic economics, banking, finance must be focusing on, not the halal and the haram. This let the fuqaha do. They tell us all of this is halal. Then we choose the better one. Okay, so keep this in mind. We can discuss later. Now, who is going to do this? It is the academics. It is Dr. Dimas who is going to do this. So Dr. Dimas must know in the curriculum of University Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta, right? Dr. Dimas needs to know in that curriculum that you are being taught 140 whatever number of credit hours that you do in 4 years, how much must come from Turath al-Islami? How much must come from modern knowledge? Okay, what must you get from Turath al-Islami? Is it only fiqh 1, fiqh 2, fiqh 3? Or do we also need to teach about Islamic ethics? Do we need to teach about usuluddin? Yeah? Do we need to teach about other aspects of Islamic civilization? Okay, and then from modern economics, from modern finance, what do we need to teach? Do we need to only teach neoclassical economics, or can we learn from other schools of economics? Dr. Dimas will have to decide. Okay, and more importantly, Dr. Dimas will have to integrate the two. Yeah? So this is the challenge of Dr. Dimas, and that is why a big challenge for Dr. Dimas and also for Prof. Rizal is they need to make sure that University Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta has qualified academics, okay, who can do this. All right, who can do this. Yes, we have a lot of people who are good in economics, who are good in finance, but they know nothing about Turath al-Islami. Yes, we have scholars who come back from University Al-Azhar. They have very good knowledge of Quran and Hadith and fiqh and so on, but they know nothing about modern economics, modern finance. How can they talk about developing contemporary Islamic economics, banking, finance, etc.? So you must have qualified academics who are comfortable both with modern knowledge as well as Turath al-Islam. So when they teach you the courses in your program, they are able to teach it from Islamic perspective. Okay. Now, I don't want to maybe talk about curriculum. This is more maybe for Dr. Dimas and his colleagues. But, we basically follow programs that are coming from, America, especially now. 3 to 4 years for a bachelor degree, 120 or 140 plus credit hours. Yeah. And at the end of the day, our challenge, right, for university academics is how do you do in that 120 to 140 credit hours, how do you teach both the Turath and modern knowledge? Whereas in the West, their 120 credit hours is all conventional. But we have to teach conventional, we have to teach Islamic, and then not only that, we have to teach the conventional from Islamic perspective. Okay, so this is a major challenge. That is why I go back to my earlier point. We need qualified academics. Okay, now move to the foundations of modern economics and foundations of contemporary Islamic economics. Exactly what we said just now for Islamization of Knowledge agenda. Economics and finance are not value free. All right, and everybody goes back to Adam Smith. But when you look at the assumptions made in the models, when you look at the concepts, when you look at the theoretical framework of modern economics, they are not in line with the Islamic position. And therefore, don't just accept the models that come from from America or from England, and we take it as universal. They are not universal. All right, we have to critically evaluate them. Certain things we have to reject. There is no way we can accept anything to do with riba. Okay, so if there's any person who says that, yeah, maybe we can accept this aspect of the modern banking system, it is not riba based, we have to critically evaluate the statement, but any element of riba has to be rejected. There is no way for us to accept it. And recently we have colleagues in Pakistan. The Federal Sharia Court in Pakistan has recently given a view that they need to move to a 100% riba-free system within 5 years. And now they are having debate about whether it can be done, and how to do it. It's not easy. In most countries, including Indonesia, Malaysia, even in Pakistan for all these years, they have what we call dual financial system. But now in Pakistan, they're saying, no, we need to move to a fully 100% riba-free system. How do you do that? So the models that are coming from the West, we cannot accept. Okay. And similarly, the ideas of Muslim scholars, as I mentioned to you, of course, we respect the views of Ibn Khaldun, of Ibn al-Qayyim, Ibn Taymiyyah, but these views, we don't need to accept 100% because they were written 600, 700 years ago. We may need to also critically evaluate them. Okay, so let's not think that Islamic economics means going back only to our history and bringing back all those wonderful things and applying as is today. It cannot be done. Very simple. When the Prophet said that, get a good camel, today we don't talk about a good camel. We talk about aeroplanes. We talk about motorcar, right? We talk about LRT. In Indonesia, you are now building fast trains. We don't talk about camels anymore, right? So this is what I mean. Similarly, whatever was said by scholars 600 years ago, we have to relook at what it means today. What is Islamic economics? It is an organized body of knowledge that integrates knowledge from the universe that we obtain by observation, by reason, including solving mankind's challenges in the substantive areas of production, consumption, distribution, exchange, including finance. Okay. Methodologically, Islamic economics and finance is developed through an approach and process of interpreting and solving economic problems and their financing from our sources of knowledge in Islam. And therefore, we have to keep in mind it requires the use and understanding of Quran, Sunnah, and the use of akal to develop contemporary Islamic economic framework in a logical, coherent, and consistent manner. That is why we want to develop the discipline of Islamic economics. The practice is, once you have your discipline, you are able to explain the practice. Okay, so in order to develop the discipline, we have to use, on the one hand, the revelation, ulum naqli, as well as the acquired knowledge, the ulum aqli. Both got to be integrated. I'm going to skip this because this is standard FIE, Foundation of Islamic Economics input. Why we need Islamic economics? Because the worldview of Islamic economics is different from the worldview of conventional economics. The base, for example, in the case of religion, there's no such thing as religion in conventional economics. And yet we call our discipline Islamic economics. Economics that is inspired and based on religion, right? The view of man. Man is Khalifa fil ard. Man is Abdullah. Whereas in economics, modern economics, we are talking about Homo economicus. Who is Homo economicus? This greedy, self-interested maximizer. We don't want to have an economics made up of greedy, self-interested maximizers. Because in Islam, man is supposed to be created in the best form. Man is represented by things like created in fi ahsani taqweem, created in the best of conditions. Man is given akal, given all the knowledge being taught by Allah. So man has got a higher nature than just this rational economic man that is a very low level creature. Yeah, we have to go beyond that. Nature, our resources are so important. What do we do with them? How do we, how do we develop our country? Do we just cut down all trees and pollute the environment? No. Yeah. Anyway, so these are things that the rationale why we talk about Islamic economics, because our worldview and all these elements that have connection to economics and finance, they are different. Okay, I'm not going to talk about this. You can read on your own. Let me just move to the last maybe part of the presentation. Okay, section 3. How do we develop? And I think this is very important. It's not the second last. Economics deals with production, consumption, distribution, and I'm including finance here as part of economics. We have to make choices. All right. Now, if we follow our value system in production, in consumption, in distribution, in finance, in investment, we have to make good and correct choices. Yeah, the Quran says, we have to do good. We have to do. We should not do fasad, corruption. We need to do something which is good, which is correct. And in order for you to do these correct and good choices, we have to interact with other human beings and with our environment. So economics is all about doing good. And in that sense, economics is also a form of ibadah. Yes, we have the salah, we have the saum, we have the zakat. These are, you can say, ibadah khusus. But we also have our economic activity, the way we do business. This is the ibadah umum, the general ibadah. So if we do our economics and finance correctly, we are performing ibadah. And this is what Professor Alatas will say is what Islam is all about. It is total submission to Allah. So even in our economic decision making, we have to be in submission to Allah. Yeah, we don't only submit to Allah for the 5 daily prayers. It is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 years a year, and as long as you live, we are supposed to be in submission in Islam. Because that's what Islam means, submission. We have the central position of revelation, i.e. the Quran, as the ultimate authority, right? And that is why the Quran is also called Al-Furqan, the criterion, because it is the Quran that is going to tell you what is good and what is bad, what is right and what is wrong. Okay, our challenge in Islamic economics and Islamic finance is, how do we use the Quran? How do we use the Sunnah? How do we use the works of scholars of the past? How do we use the works of contemporary scholars, including conventional scholars, in order to develop Islamic economics and finance? So that is where that integration comes in. Yeah. Now, in defining Islamic economics, I didn't give the definition here, but most of what you will be doing in economics and finance, you won't find the answer directly in the Quran. For example, the Quran says riba is haram, trade is halal. But what is riba today? This, you need to look at the practice and evaluate the practice. Is it riba or not? Or is it trade? Okay, so most economic application will have to be derived and will have to be applied. In order to do that, you need to have a correct understanding of Islamic worldview. You need to understand the Islamic or the Sharia boundary. Okay, now I'm using the word Sharia boundary, but please keep in mind, I mentioned earlier, Sharia is not only fiqh. Okay, so it's not only about the halal and the haram. Once you are in the halal, you have to make choices, because even within the halal, there can be option A, B, C, D. We have to choose the best option. Okay, I'm running out of time, so let me move. I will leave this maybe for your other, lecturers to talk about. Yeah, this is just to mention that when we want to develop Islamic economics, the methodology that we sometimes always are referred to is something called usul al-fiqh. But really, I don't think usul al-fiqh is sufficient for us when we want to develop economics, because usul al-fiqh is geared towards developing fiqh. And fiqh, as we know today, has been narrowed to the legal aspects. What we want is something to develop economics. Right? So I have used this term usul al-iqtisad as something that we need to develop. So it's a different methodology. Maybe we can talk about this also in the Q&A. Yeah. We need an Islamic economic system in order to practice Islamic economics. I think today in the world, there is no Muslim country that can claim to have an Islamic economic system in practice. What we do have, we have many Muslim countries that claim that we have an Islamic financial system in place. And maybe we can agree, as I mentioned earlier, in Indonesia, in Malaysia, we may be having a parallel Islamic financial system. We have banking, we have non-banking financial institutions, we have non-financial institutions, we have stock market, we have sukuk market, we have money markets. We have a parallel financial system, but I don't think we have so far a country that can claim to have an Islamic economic system. And that is why this latest development in Pakistan, where they are talking about going for a 100% riba-free system, is a very interesting thing. Yeah, I think it's going to have a lot of discussion, and there will be resistance towards moving to this, because you are now talking about doing away with riba. So far, what we have done, we have come up with parallel systems. Yeah, but to do away with riba is not easy. All right. Okay, I'm just going to move. I will give this and you can read this on your own. The Iok Agenda is not only about the discipline, it's not only about knowledge, it is also about the Islamizer. So not only do we have to Islamize modern economics, we also have to Islamize Dr. Dimas. Okay, the Islamizer. Or maybe Dr. Dimas is already the Islamized individual. But there are many individuals, there are many lecturers, there are many academics, there are many potential graduates of University Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta that we also need to Islamize ourselves. In fact, I will even argue, even in IIUM, we have to continuously Islamize ourselves. Because the knowledge is one thing, but the individual who is doing it also needs to improve themselves. Yeah? So Islamization of knowledge, very important, but the Islamizer is also equally important. All right? And I go back to this very, very important point. We need qualified academics. And not only academics, I will argue, we require qualified bankers, qualified finance officers. We need qualified central bankers. We need qualified businessmen. We need qualified Waqaf officials. We need qualified Zakat officials. The Zakat official may have a lot of knowledge in Islam, but no knowledge in economics. Similarly, the Waqaf official may be somebody who is coming back from Al-Azhar with a bachelor in Sharia, but doesn't know anything about social finance. Our bankers know about banking, about finance, but know nothing about muamalat, or know nothing about Turath al-Islami. We need qualified human resource everywhere. So I'm going to stop at this point. Very, very important human resource challenge. We need proper human resource planning. And I think this workshop, this training is wonderful, opportunity to add to your education experience as students, whether you are in University Muhammadiyah, Yogyakarta, or in any other university. Workshops like this and training like this is what we need to increase. All right. So congrats to Dr. Dimas and ONY for organizing this. Yeah. Okay. Conclusion. We need an integrated education, but there are many challenges. We need to continue with curriculum reform, but we also have to have human resource development plan. Curriculum must have right quality academics teachers, and we must also know who our students are. All right, I will stop at this point, and I welcome comments or any queries that you may have. Wallahu alam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Professor Aslam. Your spirit and your explanation seems not changed, Prof, since I was there 10 years ago when I was taking a PhD class in Islamic economics. You always give us this motivation, Prof, and insights, yeah, how to Islamize, how to integrate, yeah, so many issues. Participants, respected participants, we have already heard from Professor Aslam pertaining some issues of the relevantizations and also the Islamization of knowledge. So these two issues seems to be very important and very relevant, yeah, for our programs. Prof, before I go to the discussion and put some question from the audience, Prof, could you please, can I please share our curriculum, Prof? Maybe you have some idea, Prof. If you please, Prof, here, I just want to share with you our curriculum. So here, Prof, is our curriculum in our departments, just for information, Prof. So this one is the new curriculum. This is the old curriculum, and this is a new curriculum that we have just implemented, inshallah, this semester. And here's the prerequisite course for all students. We have a Quranic writing and recitation. And in the first semester here, we call it as the beginning semester, that the student will take some courses that related with the introductory courses. But we have some new courses here, Prof. Worship and Islamic practices, humanity and faith, Muhammadiyah studies, and also Islam and sciences. So these are the new courses that are compulsory, Prof, from university to be taken by all the students at UMY. And once this semester ends, move to the second semesters. I guess it is quite similar with your with the UAA about the micro, mathematics, statistics, and so forth. And of the third semester as well here, some application of microeconomics, advanced, we call intermediate and advanced micro and macro, economics and so forth, econometrics, English, Arabics we have here. And the fourth semester also the continuation of the second semester, and the fifth semester as well, Prof. Here the continuation of the previous semester. And come to the end of the semester, Prof, here, we have the enrichment course that focus on the Islamic economics, banking, and finance. Or I may say that is the practice, maybe the relevantisation of the courses from the previous one. So we have Islamic economics, we have banking management, international finance, Islamic banking practices, Islamic social finance, halal economy, and sustainable finance. And also we have the last semester is the thesis here, Prof, is the research projects for the 6 credit hours. So based on your observation here, Prof, whether this curriculum that you seen here has been close to the idea that you said before about the relevantization, Islamization, Prof. Or maybe you have any views, Prof, or suggestions, please, Prof.
Well, thank you, Dr. Dimas. Looking at curriculum, sometimes it is not easy. I mean, looking at the number of courses you have and the title of the courses, it seems to present an Islamic perspective. But at the end of the day, I think what is important is what goes into these courses. For example, when you call a course, let's say banking management or international finance, how do you teach that course? Where is that critical evaluation? Yeah, where is the Islamic element? So some courses, of course, are directly Islamic economics, like your economy Islam is Islamic economics. I'm assuming you are teaching Islamic perspective. But the bank management course, how do you teach the bank management? Is it considered to be a neutral course, or are there any elements of Islamic management that you will use in the banking management course? So I think that we need to go down to looking at the syllabus, yeah, and how each course brings in Islamic elements and components. So, but looking at the general thing, I mean, it's difficult to to say that there is any shortcoming and so on. It looks as if a very well planned curriculum, but we may need to have more detailed look at syllabus and so on.
Okay. Okay,
Because
Prof.
when you go to syllabus, this is where your qualified academic comes in, right? You can have a course with a very wonderful name of the course, but how you teach it depends on the lecturer, right?
Yeah.
So that lecturer is also his qualification and how he goes about. This is also very important.
Okay, Prof. Okay, thank you, Prof. Aslam, for your views and the suggestions and also comment concerning with the curriculum. And here we have also some lectures here, Prof, and some participant coming from other universities that joining us. Okay, dear participants, perhaps if you have any questions directly directed to the Prof. Aslam, I give you the chance to question. We have here Dr. Zuhaimi, we have here Prof. Imamuddin Yuliadi, Prof. Ayif, Dr. Ayif, yeah, and also Pak Zaini here, our lecturers. They're joining our program as well. If you have any questions, please.
Students of the international program in Islamic economics finance must be able to ask a lot of difficult questions. So I'm looking forward to hearing from you.
Yeah, I just remembering, Prof, when I sit in your class for almost 3 semesters
Yes.
in the foundation Islamic economics when I was taking master in economics. So until now, Prof, I have still a question in mind, Prof, concerning with the how much actually, Prof, the number of courses, Prof, specific to the Islamic finance, because you say that earlier that it depends on the inputs, the course input, how many courses that must be in the curriculum. Do you have the best practice, Prof, actually, how many percentage that must be in terms of numbers, so that the shares among the all curriculum in one programs, it is suitable to be to Islamize or to attain the goals for the Islamization of knowledge agenda, Prof.
If
The,
I just give you the IIUM experience, and by no way it is necessarily to be replicated everywhere. Yeah? Different countries may have different contexts and different focus. But in our Kuliah of Economics and Management Sciences, and I'm talking specifically about Department of Economics, our curriculum roughly is one third, or maybe 30%, 40%. What do I mean by this? 30% of the courses are considered to be conventional courses. When we say conventional, actually what we are meaning are courses like business math, statistics, econometrics, some of the more you can say technical computer studies. So you will have all of these, and also some of the university courses that we require. This will be courses that we consider to be conventional. Then you have another 30%, which is fully Islamic. Your fiqh muamalat, your usul fiqh, foundation of Islamic economics, history of Islamic economic thought, another 30%. Then you have about 40%, and this is where the biggest challenge, because we are talking about economics department. So the degree is a Bachelor of Economics. We want to produce economists. We want to produce finance graduate, business graduate. We are not talking about producing Usuluddin graduate or fuqaha, or graduates of Bachelor of Quran or Sunnah. We are producing economists, business leaders, and finance graduates, right? So that 40% are basically made up of finance courses or economics courses or business courses, but they have to be taught from integrative perspective. That means they must involve that integration. So how you teach management, how you teach finance, how you teach economics. So the three components must be there in all programs: conventional, the fully Islamic, and that attempt at integration or Islamization. What is the percentage? I think it will depend also on who your students are and the nature of your faculty. I think in UMY, you are an economics department or economics faculty. So by nature, your degree is to produce economists. So, you will want to make sure that you don't sacrifice economics because you want to give more turath. But if you were a university, let's say, IAEN, that has now become University Islam, you have many of them in Indonesia, then the curriculum, even the students, are more maybe towards the Islamic studies, what we understand in the past. Therefore, your curriculum may not be able to be economics because the students may not be able to appreciate. So I think it will depend on the university. But for University Muhammadiyah Jogja, I think you will need to be producing economists, right? So 30-40 is a good standard to keep, but you may change it according to your own requirement.
Okay, Prof. Thank you very much, Prof. So here we have some question in the chat box, Prof, from Dr. Asep and also Brother Abdi Hakim.
Yeah.
So the first from Dr. Asep here, questioning with the graduate for the Bachelor in Islamic Economics, if they want to pursue the master degree, whether it should be in the same major or could be different, Prof.
Yeah, this is a wonderful question. Thank you very much, Dr. Asep, for the question. If you are in a university, maybe like in IIUM, and maybe even in University Muhammadiyah Jogja, we are able to do a kind of major minor, or sometimes even double degree, right? So many years ago in IIUM, we had double degree possibility. Somebody do Bachelor Economics and also do Bachelor Islamic Revealed Knowledge and Heritage. And we had, for example, our own Dr. Irwan, who is a graduate of that, who is now with us. What happened in the case of Dr. Irwan, and I'm using him, as the example, after he did his first degree, Bachelor Economics, and he was doing the double degree, he got Bachelor Islamic Revealed Knowledge, by taking courses from IRK, and then he started his masters in Department of Quran and Sunnah. Almost finished. I think he didn't complete the thesis or the research paper, so he didn't get. But he got extremely good results for all the courses that he did. Okay, then he went to Canada. He did his second masters in economics and the PhD in economics. So it would be wonderful if you could have people who are actually sent to do double degrees, or you try to experiment the first degree in economics but with the minor in Islamic review knowledge, and then the masters, if you can find somewhere that has a masters in let's say Sharia but a minor in economics. I mean, that would be wonderful, right? You can try to combine. It can be worked out. So I like this idea of, if possible, you don't do all your degrees in the same area. If possible, you don't need to. All right. Sometimes you may also have people first degree economics and then second degree finance. I'm talking about Islamic economics, Islamic finance, right? Then that is also another way of getting people with a bigger exposure. All right. So having said that, this is the formal education. I really hope that some of our academics, as well as many of our future graduates, you don't limit yourself to only the textbooks, right? You should be reading all kinds of books which cover different aspects. For example, everybody should be knowing what's happening globally, right, in the economic system. Whether you are doing economics or business, or you need to know what's happening globally, right, so that you can apply yourself. So everybody needs to be well read in all areas. But the question that Dr. Asep is asking, there is no need to continue to do one area only. You can move to other areas. No problem.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Aslam. Hopefully, the question has been answered by Prof. Aslam, Dr. Asep. The next one is from the student here, Prof. From the student from UMY here, asking about can the no Islamic country can claim and use economic system you said earlier. So how then the country can practice Islamic economic system if there is no any framework for the Islamic terms?
Right. So you will need to have a proper planning, because when you say economic system, you are talking about now involving the government, involving the people, right? So for example, in Indonesia, you have a wonderful Sharia economics master plan. Yeah, what year is it? 2025 or 2030, or what is the time frame? You have a master plan that you are currently doing. In Malaysia, we had Islamic financial system or Islamic finance master plan or something like that. But in Indonesia, I think you have taken a good step. You call yours Sharia economy or Islamic economic master plan, right? So you have a wider plan. So that plan is probably what needs to be there in any country that wants to develop an Islamic economic system. You need to have that planning, and you need to have the support of all stakeholders, the government, the private sector, the academia, and ultimately the people. The people must support, right? So that's why I go back to the interesting developments in Pakistan. Pakistan, of course, is a country that was established in the name of Islam. And that is why in right from the beginning, they say that they are Islamic Republic of Pakistan. And similarly, Islamic Republic of Iran. Similarly, Sudan. So these are countries that claim that the country itself is Islamic, right? So they have an added advantage because the constitution is already there, right? But for many other Muslim countries, we do not necessarily say that our country is Islamic a country, but we can move towards slowly and gradually um, reforming the system so that it is in line with Islamic teaching. So, for example, in the banking and finance area, I believe in Malaysia, we are now 25, maybe even 30% of our banking and finance in Malaysia is Islamic after 40 years. That's a good figure, but we can go beyond that. So we should try to go make it 40%, 50%, right? Similarly, in Indonesia, I'm not sure the percentage, maybe it is 10% or 15% now. Again, you have your target of increasing that, right? But in order to be able to increase, you need the human resource. You need the people in Bank Indonesia. You need the people in Ministry of Finance. You need the political leaders. You need academics, right? And the overall awareness of the Indonesian people is needed. Similarly in Malaysia, similarly in any country. So I think you have to do what you can do. You may not be able to do 100% immediately, but we can move slowly, right? To make sure that what we do does not create instability, does not create injustice, right? Because sometimes when you try to move too fast, you may do things which are going to create injustice. I remember in the 1980s, a few countries announced overnight, our Islamic bank is Islamic bank. Sorry, our banks are Islamic banks. So yesterday they were conventional banks, tomorrow they are Islamic banks. But there is no preparation, there is no training of the human resource, there is no developing the legal framework, there is no proper guidance to bankers and so on. It doesn't work. So it needs to have a plan, and you need to have people to implement the plan, but do it gradually. I'm a firm believer in gradual change. Yeah, I don't think that when you do something overnight, that it is going to be sustainable. Yeah. The third one is Asril. Yeah? What is our biggest obstacle now in implementing Islamic-based science on national campuses? Because some people think that the Islamic curriculum is not suitable in the modern era. I don't know, Asril. I just give you an example. I even remember the year in 2006. Our team from IIUM came to Indonesia to promote our programs in IIUM, and we visited Jakarta, and I think we went. Yeah, we were in Yogyakarta and in Jakarta. These are the two places we went. And when we were in Jakarta, we wanted to visit one of the universities in Jakarta. At that point in time, that university had no Islamic economics program. They only had economics faculty, and whatever Islamic program they had in the Middle Eastern center or something like that. Yeah. So when we went to the economics faculty of that university and we wanted to talk about Islamic economics, many of the lecturers were not confident about what we were talking about. Okay, so but that was in 2006. 10 years later, the same university has a Islamic economics program. Yeah, so I think in Indonesia, in the last 10 to 15 years, there has been a very big change in many universities. Previously, they did not accept Islamic economics. Today, it is already in demand. And when there is a demand from the people, there is a demand from students who want to study Islamic economics. I'm told by colleagues, Dr. Dimas, I'm told by our colleagues in Bogor, in Airlangga, that the Islamic economics program is one of the most popular, biggest number of application want to join Islamic economics program. So as long as that demand is there, I'm sure more universities will start introducing Islamic economic program. But what is the obstacle? It is the human resource, right? So in all these universities, the human resource is important. If you start a program in Islamic economics without the correct human resource, I think you're going to have trouble. So make sure you have the sufficient human resources and reading material, right, to offer when you open up the program. So, but if you're talking about science, because the things Islamic-based science, if you're talking about science, including social science, I think it is already happening, economics and other psychology, etc. But if you're talking about science, as in physics, chemistry, and so on, this is maybe a bit more challenging because these are the areas that sometimes are more technical, right? So it may be a little bit more challenging, but I cannot talk much about this. I'm not too much in the know about what's happening, but certainly in Malaysia, social sciences, we have got sufficient amount of Islamic economics and Islamic perspective. Yeah, wallahu alam.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor, from very enlightening presentation and discussions. So, respected participant, we have listened to Prof. Aslam just now about some issues about Islamization of knowledge that we are having and facing right now. And from his explanation, we are understood that there are two things that need to be more critically discussed. The first is about relevantization of the modern knowledge, the Turat, Turat of Islami, that becomes to be the outstanding challenge. And the second one is the Islamization of the modern knowledge that we are now studying, so that hopefully the human resource that Prof. Aslam mentioned just now is able to integrate these two items so that come up with the new knowledge called contemporary of Islamic economics and finance. And to attain that one, of course, he mentioned about the challenge of human resource, reading materials, and also perhaps the last one is government support. And Alhamdulillah, Indonesia right now, Prof, we have KNIKS, Prof, Committee National Economic and Sharia, led by Dr. Sultan Emir Hidayat, who are so actively engaged in some promotion and also collaboration, cooperation with some universities to produce many human resource, reading materials, and also supporting in terms of the political support. And hopefully, it can be the one how to make this agenda become faster, Prof. However, in terms of the number of Islamic banking shares, we still under 10%, Prof, right now.
Under
Still,
10%. Okay.
still 6% for almost more than 10 years, since last 10 years. No significant increase, Prof. So this one is the current situation. But in terms of the Islamic and finance program, you correctly mentioned that so many university right now establish these programs, either in government universities or private universities. However, the challenge is, you said before, Prof, in terms of the curriculum, in terms of the human resource, reading materials. I guess that you said uh, correctly that we need to conduct more training, more interaction with triple IT, perhaps, Prof, so that we can accelerate the process. Okay, Prof, before we end the sessions, Prof, maybe you have any closing remark, Prof, or maybe you have advice to all of us here, in particular the students and lecturers, so that this agenda become maybe accelerated and then maybe more become strategic actions to be conducted by all the stakeholders, Prof.
Yeah. I mean, thank you very much, Dr. Dimas. I just want to tell everyone who is in the session, especially you are, the young leaders of the country, and you will become leaders in the future. I just want to, hopefully, everybody will remember that our task is to enable us to live our life according to what the religion wants us, yeah, to follow. And as I mentioned, this idea of ibadah really is something which is all encompassing. And therefore, whether you become an academic, or whether you become a businessman, or whether you become a member of the a government office, whatever capacity you are in, the central goal should be about maintaining this submission to Allah. And how you can do this is by making sure that you don't separate yourself. Yeah, as a businessman, you become you follow different rules, and then when you go to the masjid, you follow certain rule. It must be one. Yeah, and I think this is what the idea of integration is all about, that you have to be one person, you have to be one personality in everything that you do. Don't worry if you are not able to initiate the changes that you want to immediately, but you have to be patient and do the little that you can do. I think we have this saying, I don't know whether I'm saying it correctly, sikit-sikit lama-lama jadi bukit. Yeah. So if you do little things at a time, ultimately you will get a lot. Yeah. So this is an important I think position that you need to take. Don't be in a rush. Do things in a pace that is sustainable. Okay? Sustainable is now a big thing now. So if you want to sustain something, make sure you don't, we are running the marathon. Yeah, we're not running 100 meters. So you have to prepare yourself for the marathon consistently throughout the race. Yeah, and if possible, towards the end, you have a sprint as well. But if you sprint right in the beginning, you may not last. So good luck to everybody. Inshallah, you will become the future leaders. Wallahu alam. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much, Professor Aslam, Haneef, lectures and also motivators, inspirator from International Islamic University Malaysia that have consistently dedicate himself to in the area of Islamization of knowledge. Stay safe and health, Prof. Inshallah
Same to everyone there.
Inshallah on the 16th of August, Prof, I'll be inshallah at UIA for having meeting with the Dean. Hopefully I can meet you, Prof, face to face. Yeah, so long time I didn't see you, Prof.
Yeah.
Since COVID-19. Okay, professors and other respected participants, we have been in the end of the session. On the behalf of the International Program for Islamic Economics and Finance, we'd like to express our thanks and appreciation to Professor Aslam, who have received our warm invitation, and also all the respected participants here that has attended this session. Hopefully, we can see and listen again to Professor Aslam lectures next time. And always, Professor mentioned that we must continuously promote this idea in our context, either as the lectures, students, and also all of the stakeholders that we are right now. And hopefully, the idea of integration of knowledge has been part and parcel with our self, in particular as the students and lecturers at our university. With that, Prof, this session will be closed. Let me end this session by reciting Hamdulillah and Doa Kafaratul Majlis. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Thank you very much, Prof. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum.
Thank you, Prof.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, sir.